Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. We are broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. This is our continued coverage of the Richard Allen trial out of Delphi. He's accused of killing Abigail Williams, Liberty German, in Delphi, Indiana, February 13th, 2017. So we're going to do what we always do. We'll go ahead and recap the previous date and some of this morning. So that'll be day 8 in the morning of day 9 of Richard Allen's trial. We'll focus in heavily on the Holman Richard Allen interview. We'll stop and talk about if cops can lie. Also, I'm going to ask you guys a question. If it wasn't recorded, did it happen? Ask you that question regards to some of the statements Richard Allen made, his Miranda rights, and also lost interviews. That includes potential suspects and key witnesses. And we'll spend some time on the lost tip and also what was said on Libby's video. Try to put that into context and what it means. Good to see you, Tina Starr, Funkarella. Safe travels. Dan Drago says vote for Trump if you've a free market capitalist. James Cope, how you doing? Tonka Thomas, I'm not sold on Richard Allen doing this by himself. Well, the pathologist makes it seem as if there could have been two weapons. You know, it's almost like you have two separate things going on with each victim. One was clothed. There wasn't as much brutality. Libby, she was completely naked. And it appears that somebody was much more violent with her for whatever reason. I think it could point to two separate suspects or one suspect who was focusing in on one of the victims. We know Richard Allen apologized for what he did with Abby. We're also learning that she may have been tied up in some way or gagged. What's up, Night Shadow? Shane Considine, what's up? Frank Meister, maybe you can can you send me an email and put that into context, what you heard in the courthouse that day? Exactly what was going on with that conversation between Abby, Libby, and the bridge guy. What's up, Kitty Cat? Phil Bond. Miss Dog Lover. Gail McCauley. Shout out to Delphi, Indiana. Me, myself, welcome in. Patty, good to see you. Jerry, hello. Olivia, nice to see you here. Thin Mint, She Warrior. Jacqueline, I like Toidles. Timmy, good to see you. Doris, Shadow Box, what up? Christine, Sparky, Brad, welcome in. Captain Ravioli, CJK, Curious Charlie, GP, nice to see you. Dave G, shout out to NYC, welcome in. Beth Gonzalez, V Marie, Sweets, well, I mean, anything could have been used, really. Could have taken their shirt and used that. Could have brought his own scarf. What's up, Saska? Jill L. All right, I think we will start with Wish TV's their live blog. They've been doing a really good job on that. It's me. Okay, so this is going to be a recap of day 8. Looks like they focused in on heavily on Lieutenant Holman. That's what I'm being heard. That's what I heard. That's what I'm being told anyway. Edge X Chaos. Yeah, I agree. What a mess. That is a true statement there. All right, so let's continue on here with our recap. After a short break, the jury returned to the courtroom to hear ISP Lieutenant Jerry Holman's continued cross-examination by defense attorney Andrew Baldwin. Holman told the jury he told Richard Allen 2 lies during the October 26, 2022 interview. How do you guys feel about that? The fact that Jerry Holman was lying to Richard Allen in the interrogation. One of the lies, Holman wasn't lying to him. I'm not lying to you, Rick. That's unethical, Baldwin quoted, saying this was a quote from Holman to Allen. Holman then said he told Allen, "You're going to drag your effing wife and daughter through this because you're too effing bullheaded to get out in front of it." Baldwin claimed Holman said this to get into Allen's head about how this would impact his family. Baldwin also said Holman did not send the unspent cartridge to another agency for a second test to see if it matched Allen's Sig Sauer. He continued saying Allen's drive home after the interview was recorded, but a quote Holman claimed Allen made earlier in October was not recorded. So remember when Richard Allen and Holman were sitting in a car together during Richard Allen's search of his home, Holman asked him a few questions, and Rick Allen said, "It doesn't matter anymore. It is all over." So that wasn't recorded. So once again, the question of the day is, if the interview is lost and certain things were not recorded, did it happen? In a court of law, did it happen? Because Jerry Holman is saying, yes, I said that, or this happened, certain things did happen without it being recorded. And I'm asking you guys, did it happen? Baldwin claimed Holman said this to get into Allen's head. We already read that part. Baldwin then questioned Holman on his theory about where Richard Allen's car was parked on February 13th, 2017. Holman answered that he didn't have a theory, but couldn't name a witness who knew where his car was. He also said he didn't watch security camera footage that showed Allen's car near the trail. I think that's something a lead investigator would want to be in the loop about. Let me get my own eyes on that. Various law enforcement officers said they believed Allen left the crime scene by 3:30 p.m. and his role in the murders was finished by 4 p.m. His role. It's a weird way to put it. The officers also did not believe Allen took Libby German's phone from the scene, which Baldwin mentioned to the court that Libby's phone would give a good timeline. So I think as bad as the investigation was, of course, that's all hindsight. It's just as bad that Rosie and Baldwin are unable to get any of their theories to stick. They don't seem able to discredit the timeline. Holman then told the jury he believed only one person killed Libby and Abby, but first thought more than one may have been involved. Holman commented on remarks made by past law enforcement about Libby's death. Then said they tried to analyze the height of Bridge Guy from the video, but didn't think it would be accurate. Baldwin chimed in to say that service would have cost around $10,000. Baldwin asked Holman if he knew about the hair found in Abby's hand that was fully DNA tested until last week. Holman responded that timing and resources needed to be used in other areas. That's awful. There's been mistakes made, yes, Holman said about the overreaching investigation. Baldwin and Holman discussed the sticks found at the scene and on top of the girls' bodies. Holman said the sticks were used to conceal the crime, but they weren't positioned any special way. Holman then told the jury he thinks that the killer heard people on the bridge and then killed the girls. It's just a theory, he said. Holman added the two witnesses, Betsy Blair and Sarah Carbaugh, were believable, and also said they once considered the idea that there were two people on the bridge. Baldwin mentioned Libby's phone last pinged from a cell tower at 5:44 p.m. February 13th. Holman mentioned that Libby's sister, Kelsey Siebert, did not have her phone data extracted, but he didn't need that information to arrest Allen. Holman also agreed he believed the phone stayed underneath Abby's back from 3:30 p.m. to when they were found on February 14th. State prosecutor Nick McClellan chimed in to ask if there were any signs the girls died, then were put into a car and moved. Holman said no. The session ended with two questions from the jury. The first question asked if there was a way Bridge Guy to get where the girls were without crossing the bridge, and Holman answered, "There's an unapproved way." Ultimately, Holman said everyone was on the bridge. Let me catch up on the chat here. I agree with that, Shane. I think he wore gloves, extra clothing that he knew he would discard. He planned to be covered in blood. Shadow says it's legal. And we'll look at that here. I agree with that. Said no DNA was found. $13, Boston. Welcome in. Tonka Thomas. I don't think the lies matter because he is trying to get him to slip. Yeah, I think we might all agree that it is unethical, but it's definitely legal. Caricature. I think it's fine for police to do whatever they want in interrogation. Gotta play like the criminal to catch them sometimes. Well, most judges will agree with you. Law enforcement can do that, can lie to get people to lead down a road. Brad says no documentation. It does not exist. I mean, how do you delete an interview with one of your key witnesses? That shit's crazy to me. Like, are you that unorganized? You don't know when you're recording over key evidence? Very strange. Good to see you, Miss Mala. Shane says it's all over. Could mean anything. Easily might be a half confession, but could also be a search will ruin my life. Well, apparently that's what he said later on. So in a secondary interview, that's what he said. Oh, you guys were serving a search warrant on my home. Everybody's going to think I did it anyway. Which really doesn't make sense because they don't know why they're searching his home. There's been dozens of search warrants and nobody else complained or said anything like that. You know, when they served a search warrant on the Maxwell home, they didn't all go, "Oh, it's over. It's all over." You know, they said, "Well, you guys ain't going to find anything." They didn't sit there and say it's over multiple times. Why? Because they weren't fearing law enforcement kicking in their door ever. I just don't see an innocent man saying something like that. But that's just my opinion. V says can't have it both ways. The defense needs it. They won't hammer that nail. Yep, 100% caricature. You know, we want to trust the police, but there's so many bad actors out there. And I'll show you a good example here in just a bit. What's up, Jari? Blind Squirrel, welcome in. Shane. Yeah. That's less than what it took to get a document they already had. From Bobby Boucher. Welcome in, Goblin. Are you referring to it coming back as 100% belonging to Kelsey? Yeah, we're going to read that in a minute. I don't know if you guys knew that, but the hair belongs to Kelsey. I think they just proved that. At least that's what this article says. So maybe we'll go right into that. This is from this morning here. This is titled Delphi Murder State's DNA Expert Takes the Stand. And it was put out about 30 minutes ago. It's by Matt Adams. DNA evidence, or the lack thereof, took center stage in the Delphi murders trial. Richard Allen faces 4 counts of murder in connection with the February 2017 deaths of Abby Williams and Libby German. Allen has been in custody awaiting trial since Indiana State Police announced his arrest in October of 2022. During day 9 of the trial, which is today, Indiana State Police Lieutenant Jerry Holman took the stand to discuss his initial interview with Allen. Holman said Allen became increasingly agitated and couldn't explain how a cartridge an ISP firearms expert matched to his gun ended up at the crime scene. Holman admitted there were mistakes made during the Delphi murders investigation. He believes one person was responsible for killing the girls. On day 9 of testimony, Stacy Bozanovsky, an Indiana State Police forensic scientist, took the stand. Bozanovsky spent the first part of testimony outlining her qualifications and giving the jury a crash course in DNA collection and analysis. Bozanovsky worked on DNA evidence in the Delphi case and did the report in March of 2017. It included an analysis of the rape kits administered on both girls. Bozanovsky said the kits were tested and no semen was detected. Other swabs detected the possible presence of male DNA. The amount was insufficient. However, Bozanovsky didn't do a confirmatory test because she wanted to make the most of the sample. No male DNA was present on vaginal cervical swabs, she told the court. She did find male DNA in genital swabs and fingernails, but said that was not necessarily an unusual result. It could have come from shared clothing and yielded very little DNA. There was no DNA evidence showing the girls were sexually assaulted. Bozanovsky said hair found in Abby Williams' hand, a key point the defense brought up in opening statements, appeared to be from one of Libby German's family members. Testing performed in 2024, just earlier this month, showed the hair came from Kelsey German. Siebert, Libby's sister. So now we know who the hair belongs to. 100% it's Kelsey's hair. It was a 1 in 8 trillion match, Bozanovsky told the court. She soon turned to the cartridge found at the murder scene. The state's firearm expert, Melissa Oberg, said she turned the cartridge over for DNA and fingerprint analysis before gathering the ballistic data. Bozanovsky said she attempted to collect skin cells from the cartridge. She also displayed the cartridge to the jury for the first time. She said it was difficult to get DNA from the cartridge because of their small size. The DNA found on the cartridge was insufficient for further analysis. She added that the state police crime lab no longer tested cartridges because of the difficulty in capturing results. Other attempts to glean DNA from items recovered from the murder scene found most of the material came from one or both of the girls. Some hair found on one of the girls' shoes was not consistent with human hair. Nothing Bozanovsky said during her testimony tied DNA evidence to Allen or any other individual. So it's not like they found other evidence that could point away from Allen. They just didn't find anything. I don't know. I feel like the killer could have cleaned up. Either am I, kitty cat. Nothing so far. That's the only real update that I've seen, was that they verified that the hair belongs to Kelsey German. Jacqueline says, as a former ICU RN, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. Shame Richard Allen wasn't recorded saying it's over. I agree with that. Welcome in, Karen. Good to see you. Saska. Fibers found on the girls yet. I hope they match something from Richard Allen's home, car, or pets. I don't think they have anything. So the question is, can police legally lie during interrogations? When it comes to laws enforced by the justice system, we have an expectation of honesty, integrity, and transparency. However, police officers are legally empowered to use deception and other types of lies during interrogations. This ability originates from a 1969 Supreme Court case, Frazier v. Cupp, which ruled specific police lies were permissible. The case involved officers falsely telling the suspect that his associate had already confessed. This happens all the time, too. Leading the suspect to also confess. The court said the lie alone was not enough to make the confession involuntary or violate his constitutional rights. Since then, no laws have established clear boundaries around what interrogation lies are appropriate versus unethical. Generally, police are legally empowered to verbally make false statements about evidence, momentarily lie about offense seriousness or punishment, make unfulfillable promises of leniency for waiving rights, lie about what others told them or what evidence reveals, threatening charges against or harsher punishment for family members. Defense lawyers and civil rights advocates have raised increasing concerns about the prevalence of deception, putting innocent people at risk of false confessions. However, prominent judges have argued that only coerced confessions through abuse or misconduct can be thrown out, not those involving lies alone. The ethics remain hotly debated. Yeah, I guess it boils down to, hey, you're under oath, and you're telling me right now that under oath these are the things that you said. Is that enough? I mean, what if Richard Allen comes out and says, hey, they didn't read me my Miranda rights? How are you going to prove it? Yeah, thanks, Goblin. I appreciate that. I don't know, Tonka. I'm not getting those vibes yet. Good to see you, Yankee. Brad says once they realized what this was, I mean, getting to Richard Allen was 5, 6 years later. Why make mistakes and not dot I's and cross T's? I wonder if it was just too late. I mean, they lost an actual interview with one of their most important witnesses, Sarah Carbaugh. So the frustration she was showing on the stand tells me she was frustrated with everybody, the defense and the prosecution. Edge says, when they served the warrant on the Maxwell home, the public went wild and claimed it was an arrest. Yeah, it was insane. Same thing for the Ron Logan search. Now, remember, they did dozens of searches. They tested over 8 firearms. The only one that brought back any kind of a match was Richard Allen. I mean, that has to stand for something, right? Yeah, this is a huge question right here. Welcome in, Red Queen. Charlotte, good to see you. Sharon Parker. Who else did I miss? I think I got you, Tina. Renee, welcome in. Yeah, I mean that's a better way to look at it. The biggest error law enforcement could have made would be violating Richard Allen's rights. Things that could get the case thrown out. Welcome in, Sophie. Yep, and we touched on that. Sophie says Richard Allen was asked about his "it's over" statement at the next interview. He claimed that his life had been ruined because everyone thinks he's guilty, paraphrasing. Yeah, and who says that? I mean, like I said, they did dozens of interviews. How many of those dozens of warrants that were served did people say, "Oh, it's all over for me"? I don't think any of them did. Welcome in, Andra. All right, you guys hold that thought. I'm going to be right back. All right, let's talk about the lost tip here. So ISP tried to accuse the FBI of misfiling the tip. Here's a statement from the FBI. As stated in the past, this is a complex, multi agency investigation. The implication that an alleged clerical error by an FBI employee caused years of delay in identifying this defendant is misleading. So it says misleading, but they don't flat out deny it. Our review of the matter shows FBI employees correctly followed established procedures. Sources indicate during the early days of the investigation, dozens of law enforcement personnel and volunteers answered a tip line and sifted through the first of more than 72,000 tips that were gradually received in this case. There is no indication at this time of how such a substantial tip regarding a middle-aged man in clothes matching those of the killer admittedly walking on the Monon High Bridge that day did not receive heightened attention or further inquiry for more than 5 years. On October 13th, the day investigators raided his home, Allen told detectives that he recalled being on the trails leading to the bridge the day of the killings, and was there to, quote unquote, watch the fish. A witness told police she spotted a man wearing a blue-colored jacket and blue jeans and was muddy and bloody. She further stated that it's apparent he had gotten into a fight. Okay, so whose fault was this? And it's not only that the tip was lost, but somebody had written cleared on the tip. That person needs to be identified. That's all I have to say about that. Richard Allen wasn't hiding in plain sight. All that was bullshit. Somebody was hiding him. Either they have loyalties to Richard Allen, or they were involved in the crime, or they're helping to frame an innocent man, right? Well, let's look at Hanlon's razor. Hanlon's razor is a reminder that not everyone is plotting against you. So it's worth giving people who annoy you the benefit of the doubt. So Hanlon's razor states, never attribute to malice that which can be adequately explained by neglect, ignorance, or incompetence. Many quotes of this model focus on stupidity, which it could be argued gives an arrogant twist. When we are slighted or ignored, it's all too easy to assume a malicious intent, all the while forgetting how many times we have treated others in a similar way. In reality, people are as neglectful, distracted, tired, misunderstanding, and incompetent as us. It is rarely the case that they are malicious. So, are we giving these investigators way more credit than they deserve? I believe so. And remember, hindsight is 2020, right? It's perfect vision when we have everything in our hands, but going through the process and taking that time, you're just going to find way too many mistakes. It doesn't mean that somebody purposefully hid the lost tip or wrote cleared on there. It was just a series of mistakes. Possibly, right? James says, I don't think cops should be able to lie during interrogation. If I was being interrogated and lied, they'd charge me with lying during an investigation. That's why your best bet is to just plead the fifth. You can talk to my lawyer. That's what you should be saying. Welcome in, Andra. Thank you, Jari. So this was from the leaked Frank's memo, one of the footnotes. It says here, when Liggett was asked if Doolin made any mistakes in the report that Doolin, drafted following his interview, Liggett responded, I don't, none that I'm aware of, no. Fellow Unified Command member Jerry Holman had a different answer. He said there was an error. I don't know if it was processing or whatever you want to call it, but at some point it got lost in the shuffle and entered incorrectly. So who did that? How did he get lost in the shuffle and how did he get entered incorrectly? The most important tip. What good is having 72,000 tips if you're going to lose the only one that really matters? You could have had 10 tips. Okay, this is from the probable cause affidavit. On September 21st, 2022, so this would have been right in the middle of the Wabash River search. The fourth week, actually, the end of the fourth week. They actually searched it exactly 1 week from this point in time. Detective Leggett was provided a tip narrative from the Orion DIN-C 000074-01 to review. It was from DNR Lieutenant Dan Doolin. Someone mislabeled or misfiled tip information in the system, which means it didn't show up in the correct location during a data search. The FBI says its review of the matter showed that FBI employees correctly followed established procedures. Somebody didn't. What's up, Bobby? Yeah, but do you think that they would have said that? Of course it's speculation. It's all over for me. Said nobody ever. If anything, I would have been saying it's over for you. It ain't over for me, buddy. It's over for you. So it was overlooked due to a clerical error. Those sources say a civilian FBI employee either mislabeled or misfiled the tip. So did this FBI employee, is that who put cleared? And this was the tip. Investigators reviewing prior tips encountered a tip narrative from an officer who interviewed Richard M. Allen. Mr. Allen was on the trail between 1:30 and 3:30. He parked at the old Farm Bureau building, walked to the new Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw 3 females. He noted one was taller and had brown or black hair. We now know that he said it looked like Richard Allen thought it appeared like she was babysitting. He did not remember the description, nor did he speak with them. He walked from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge. He did not see anybody, although he stated he was watching a stock ticker on his phone as he walked. He stated there were vehicles parked at the High Bridge Trail, however, did not pay attention to them. He did not take any photos or video. Okay, this is pretty disturbing video, but it is a good example of how law enforcement can lie to you. But I believe these guys right here may have been fired for this. So I don't think what we're seeing here is legal, but I guess it would be a good example of how law enforcement tries to lie to you. But this is also an example of them overstepping. give me a moment.
Murdered your dad.
No, I did
Yes, you
not.
did. Yeah, yes. Daddy's dead because of you.
Okay, so one thing you need to know about this interview here is that the father is 100% still alive. Him and his son there that you see on the camera in the blue shirt. He's the guy who called it in saying, hey, I got in an argument with my father. I haven't seen him in about a day. Well, now he's become their main suspect, and they're basically lying to him. And this is a good example of what did not happen to Richard Allen.
Murdered your dad.
No, I did
Yes, you
not.
did. Yeah, yes. Daddy's dead because of you.
Hours of interrogation. Police lying to a suspect in the Inland Empire until he falsely confesses to murder. And now the city of Fontana is paying a massive settlement tonight after police questioned a man for 17 hours until he confessed to killing his father, who's still alive. KCAL News reporter Tom Waite joins us now with what led up to this false and really hard to watch confession.
It was, Pat, and I watched many hours of this intense interrogation, and it's very eye-opening, and we'll get to it in just a second here. But the video of the interrogation is fascinating and disturbing. An innocent man spends hours being grilled by police. When it's over, he's in the throes of a full mental breakdown, and under pressure, he lies to detectives about killing his own father.
We don't think you're a monster, Thomas.
Fontana police detectives grilling.
Remember, Holman said, we don't think you're a bad guy.
Thomas Perez Jr. after Perez Jr. reported his father missing. This interrogation descends into what's being described as psychological torture after the detectives extract a false murder confession from Perez.
We just told you we found your dead dad, and you don't give a.
That detective is lying. Perez Sr. was not dead. But in this moment, Fontana detectives don't know where he is. Perez Jr. reported him missing after they had an argument. A search warrant was served at the family home. Perez Sr.'s wallet, cell phone, and even some bloodstains were discovered. A canine also alerted to the odor of possible human remains. Detectives unleash an unrelenting interrogation of Perez Jr.
Murdered your dad.
No, I did
Yes, you
not.
did.
Yeah,
Yes.
Daddy's dead because of you.
No.
Yes,
Daddy-
not only
Daddy's
that, but
dead.
poor Morgan here.
Margot.
These fucking idiots. Daddy's dead. Who talks like that?
Margot had to witness it.
Yeah. I walked through the blood.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
He's like, wait a minute. Is it possible? Maybe I did.
psychological effects of hours of grilling take their toll. Detectives keep pushing. Perez spirals further. Eventually, Perez Jr. makes a false confession to killing his father. All this, and 71-year-old Perez Sr. was alive. He went to his girlfriend's home, but didn't have his cell phone. Perez Jr.'s attorney.
The worst act of deliberate cruelty that I've seen suing the police for 40 years. I've been suing the police for 40 years, and I've never seen the cops be that cruel to someone.
Steering on behalf of Perez Jr. sued Fontana and won a nearly $900,000 settlement. This all unfolded back in 2018, but the case was just finalized.
Okay, so the bottom line is, yes, you can lie to a suspect during an interrogation, but you cannot coerce them or berate them into a confession like that. So yes, Holman lied to Richard Allen, but he didn't do anything like this, right? He didn't force Richard Allen to sleep on the floor or anything like that. So this is the motion to suppress Richard Allen and Holman's interview by Richard Allen. Welcome in, enlighten me. Who marked the tip narrative green as in cleared? It's a good question. Who marked the one tip that shouldn't have been cleared as cleared? Aaron the Rock, welcome in. Dixie, why DNR guy interviewing Maine people? What the fuck? Hey, what's up, kitty? There was 100 detectives from 20 different agencies helping for the search of Bridge Guy. They upsized headquarters, 2/27/2017. Too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Yeah, I mean, they screwed up. So we automatically want to think that they did it on purpose, but the truth is, maybe we're just giving them too much credit. Welcome in, hopelessly inquisitive. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So are you guys seeing reasonable doubt? I don't know if I see that just yet. I don't know if we've gotten into the reasonable arena yet. Welcome in, Kelseries. Miss Shank was a volunteer, from what I understand, who was filing tips in law enforcement officers' narratives, reports who investigated a particular tip. I do not believe she was able to clear a tip. No, we're talking about somebody else. It was somebody who had an administrative role with the FBI. Not an FBI agent per se, but somebody that worked for them who was assisting. So this would be before Shank even came around. So this would have been well before 72,000 tips, right? So how did it get lost? I mean, I'm just so baffled by that. And I'm wondering what the jury's how they're gonna feel about that. It looks it's fishy. That's the one they use the most, Miss Mala. Like saying your accomplice just ratted. They always do that. They'll have you separated in two separate interrogation rooms. They'll come in, they'll interview one and then they'll go interview the second and say, well, your friend just told us everything. We gave you an opportunity to get ahead of this so that you didn't look like you had zero remorse. Well, if you would have confessed first, you would have had a better position. They lie like that all the time. I don't know, Sophie. So apparently in one interview, it was recorded. But in the second interview, he just said, you remember your rights, don't you? And he said, yes. What's up, Joey? Richard Allen is not getting a fair trial. And if you think he is, I feel sorry for you. Why do you think he's not getting a fair trial? So if they find him not guilty, you don't think that was fair? Ask me, Sleuth. They do not know who wrote cleared. The volunteer witness testimony from last week explains it all. I'll find the testimony and email it to you. Isn't police lying kind of entrapment? No. Joey says, this is why you don't talk to cops and ask for a lawyer. Yeah, don't even say hello. I mean, you have a good example of that video I just showed you. This man came forward and said, hey, my father is missing. Now they have him in an interrogation room confessing to murdering his father who was still alive. Pretty messed up. Welcome in, none of your business. Doris Brockman, extremely cruel. Close? I don't know. Entrapments might be a different thing. Yeah, exactly, blind squirrel. That's why I tell you guys, I'm not pro law enforcement, pro prosecution, pro defense. That's not what we do here. There's bad guys in every corner of this world. I call it the 1 out of 10. You can show me 10 elementary school teachers, and I'm going to tell you 1 out of those 10 is not a good person. You can bring me 10 cops, and I'm going to tell you at least 1 out of those 10 are not to be trusted. Does that mean that 1 out of the 10 helped Richard Allen, knew Richard Allen, helped cover this up? Or did they know Richard Allen was the guy? They know exactly what happened. And did they hold on to it? There's going to be conspiracy theories about that for years to come, unless they figure it out. What's going on, Katie Owens? Why write cleared on anything when for years we heard no one has been cleared? I don't know. Something doesn't smell right with this lost tip, Katie. I mean, think about it. One day it just appears out of nowhere. And everything happened after that. There was nothing. Boom, you find this lost tip. Then it's like a brush fire. It's literally like somebody leaned down and lit the brush on fire. And why is the defense not even questioning that? Yeah, but that folder doesn't have legs, Sophie. It didn't, walk, get up and walk itself into somebody's drawer. Somebody's not being honest. But the truth is, it's most likely because somebody made a mistake. Doesn't mean that it's corruption or anything. Somebody's being quiet because they don't want anybody to know how they fucked up. What's up, Lorraine? Charlie says, but why did he do it? It's a good question. Seems premeditated, pre-planned. Seems to be targeting the girls. T-Bone says the defense will have their turn. Yeah, exactly, right? What kind of human would be motivated to do that? Okay, so let's look into this. This is a motion to suppress by Richard Allen. He's trying to get the interview between him, or maybe even 2 interviews between him and law enforcement thrown out. And this was released way before the trial. So this one's titled First Interrogation. Must have been on the 13th. Law enforcement officers requested Rick Allen to appear at the Delphi police station to answer questions. And on October 13th, 2022, Allen voluntarily went to the station and sat down with police, thinking he was assisting them in solving the Delphi murders, since he had been on the trails earlier on the day that the victims disappeared. Rick wanted to help out any way he could, and that is clear in the video. This video was previously provided to the court on September 18th, 2023. The October 26, 2017 interview was being sent to the court overnight via certified mail for the court's review. The two officers that interviewed Rick Allen on that day were Tony Leggett and Steve Mullen. Rick was read his Miranda rights and signed an advisement of rights form, which is normal protocol for law enforcement before an interrogation begins. For the first roughly 3/4 of the interview, it is apparent from the interview Rick believed he was assisting the police in their investigation and search for those that murdered the victim in the Delphi case. However, eventually when it became obvious that Leggett and Mullen were actually pointing the finger at Rick Allen as the killer, at one point in the interview, Rick said, "I don't want to be somebody's fall guy. And we're going to try to make pieces of a puzzle fit somewhere they don't fit so we can close this thing." Rick says, "I'm not saying you guys, please don't think I'm questioning your integrity. That's not what I'm saying." However, when the Leggett and Mullen amped up the intensity of their questioning, even positioning their bodies closer to Rick, Rick said the following: "It's over. I was perfectly fine. I was cooperating. I was going to give you my phone. And then, when you started reading all these documents, that's at the, here's my thing is, I feel like you guys think I done this. So I'm done. You do what you need to do. It's your job. I understand that. But you better fucking leave my reputation out of it. So you do what you need to do. And then, like I said, when you do find this guy, I'll expect the apology." Like, who says that? Go ahead and arrest me. But when you find the real killer, I'll expect an apology. Nobody says that. I'm sorry. Rick then described how police were trying to ruin his reputation by accusing him of the murders in public, even groping him as they patted him down in the street. God forbid the cops check to see if you have any hidden weapons. Rick was expressing that the mere act of mentioning his name as a possible killer or patting him down on a public street as if he were a criminal would ruin his reputation and was greatly upsetting. Well, first of all, how would anybody know what it's about? And if you're innocent, you have nothing to worry about. Leggett and Mullen did read Rick Allen his Miranda rights before they began their interrogation. And additionally, Rick Allen was aware that he had freedom of movement as Rick, ultimately stood up and walked out of the interrogation room. However, at the end of the interview that turned into an aggressive interrogation, Rick made it clear that he no longer wanted to talk to law enforcement. Within hours of the first interrogation, Leggett drafted an affidavit for a search warrant. Judge Diener then signed the warrant to search Rick's home and vehicle. On that day, Rick Allen's vehicle was also seized. The defense will not be seeking this first interrogation to be suppressed. Second interrogation. On October 13th, 2022, Kathy Allen, Rick's wife, and Rick Allen asked the state police when they could pick up their vehicle that had been seized. They were told that they could pick it up in a couple of days. On October 17th, 2022, either Kathy or Rick contacted the state police to determine how and when they could get their vehicle back that had been seized, as they were in need of that vehicle, as Kathy and Rick were having difficulty sharing only one vehicle, as they worked in two different places and needed two vehicles. After a few phone calls with state police, finally on October 26th, Rick and Kathy were scheduled to arrive at the state police post in West Lafayette at 9 a.m. to pick up their vehicle. On October 26, 2022, Rick Allen drove with Kathy to the West Lafayette police post to retrieve their vehicle that had been seized 13 days earlier by law enforcement. State police had told Rick and Kathy that upon arrival, their car would be released, but never mentioned anything about additional questioning. When Rick and Kathy arrived at the station, Holman met them at the front and said he just had a few things he wanted to clear up before he released the vehicle. Holman requested Rick to follow him to the interrogation room without Kathy. Rick complied. Kathy was not allowed to participate in the questioning. She was told she could wait in the lobby. Rick arrived with Holman into the interview room. However, for unknown reasons, the video provided to the defense is missing the beginning portion of the interview when procedural matters are typically handled by law enforcement, such as the reading of Miranda, advisement of rights, and confirming with the suspect that he is free to leave, if in fact the suspect is free to leave. And I don't know if he was free to leave. I know they told him he was, but I think they plan to arrest him anyway. What's up, Brian Emery? Richard Allen is BG. Nobody wears that much clothes and a mask in 44-degree Indiana weather. If it's 44 degrees in February, I'm going to wear my Speedo and cowboy boots. It's warm for Hoosier males. Yeah, everybody was celebrating it that day. The one thing that they remember from February 13th, that it was an unusually warm day. Even the girls were like, we don't need hoodies. We don't need jackets. Like, Becky Patty had to force them, and Kelsey had to like make sure they left with those jackets. Yeah, Shank discovered the error. She's not the one being accused of creating the error. But she's telling a story that one day it just appeared. Like, oh, there it is. Right? It's almost as if somebody was like, here you go. Let's go ahead and light this brush fire. Very strange. Definitely food for conspiracy, if you ask me. What's up, Goddess? T-Bone says an innocent man says that and much, much more. That's not, I don't agree with that. It's a very strange thing to say. And if you know you're a suspect, why are you talking? I don't understand that. Only an arrogant killer would do something like that, in my opinion. It's kind of like, I've been fooling you for 6.5 years or 5.5 years. I'm going to continue fooling you. I know there's no DNA. It's almost as if Richard Allen knew that there was nothing to tie him to that murder, as if he had taken steps to ensure that. In this case, either the camera was only turned on after Holman and Rick, were already minutes into the interview, because the video provided to the defense does not show Holman and Rick entering the room, sitting down, and beginning the interrogation. The camera was recording the entire time, but the beginning of the interview was later, edited out before being turned over to the defense. Either way, the beginning of the interrogation between Holman and Rick in the interrogation room, when introductions are typically made and Miranda rights are always reviewed, is missing. In the 70-plus years of experience between co-counsels, this is highly unusual, especially on a high-profile case of this nature. The defense has not been provided with any report explaining this missing part of the video. Now, the question, I think, does it matter? You know, we know that the original video, he gives the Miranda rights, and Holman is saying, yes, I asked him, do you remember your rights? He said, yes. Is Richard Allen even denying that? From a legal standpoint, what does that mean? To make matters more suspicious, Holman claims in his November 1st, 2022 report, memorializing his October 26th interrogation of Rick Allen, the following. I asked Mr. Allen if he remembered the other detectives reading him his Miranda rights, and he said yes. I told him he was free to go at any time and that the door was unlocked. Holman's report doesn't identify who the other investigators are that purportedly reviewed Miranda with Rick. Holman's report doesn't detail when, where, or how these purported investigators purported reviewed Miranda with Rick. Holman's words quoted in paragraph 23 above appear nowhere on video. In other words, Holman is not shown asking Rick Allen about his rights, nor is Holman viewed telling Rick Allen that he is free to leave. So the question of the day is, if it's not recorded and it's not documented, did it happen? This could be a big deal. In his report, Holman indicates that those words were stated to Rick Allen at the very beginning of the interview. The beginning of the interview is missing. So Holman saying this under oath, does that mean he's telling the truth? I think in a court of law, yes, right? Yep, I covered a case, little one, of a man who spent 8 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And one of the main witnesses was the guy who actually committed the murder, which was a brother-in-law of the accused. The defense has diligently searched through the discovery for any Miranda waiver of rights form signed by Rick Allen. On October 26, 2022, the defense has found none. The defense has diligently searched through the discovery for any reports by state troopers who were on duty that day, such as Jay Harper and David Vito, who would have potentially read Rick his Miranda rights on October 26, 2022. The defense has found no such reports. Justice Brad Holder's February 17, 2017 interview is missing, just as the mimic crime scene found on Holder's social media page is missing. Still has not been turned over to the defense, but the defense thankfully located in Georgia. Remember, it cost him $12,000 to get this image. And just as Rick's original taped statement to Dan Doolin in front of a grocery store in February 2017 is missing, the beginning portion of Holman's interview with Rick Allen is also missing. God. I mean, I'm curious to see how the jury's going to deal with that. That's frustrating. Like, they're going to be like, what the fuck, dude? The defense has diligently searched through the discovery for audio or video by any law enforcement from October 26, 2022, in which it can be seen or heard that Rick Allen was read his Miranda rights or told that he was free to leave. The defense has found none. Therefore, at this time, it appears to the defense that Jerry Holman's claims in his report that Rick Allen was asked about his Miranda rights and told he was free to leave are false, and that key video evidence that would prove as much is missing. The following are true and accurate depictions of what occurred at Allen's October 26, 2022 interrogation, as shown on the videotape of said interrogation that was not missing or deleted but was actually provided to the defense. On video, Holman never read Rick Allen his Miranda rights, nor mentioned them to Rick Allen. Rick Allen was placed in a tiny confined room without windows. Rick Allen was placed in a tiny confined room and Holman shut the door. Rick Allen was placed in a tiny confined room with Jerry Holman while the door was shut. A considerable size difference existed between Rick Allen and Jerry Holman. A power differential existed as Holman was a state trooper in his home court, while Rick Allen was a CVS worker from Delphi who had only driven to West Lafayette to pick up a vehicle he and his wife needed for transportation. Rick Allen was never told that he was being videotaped. When Jerry Holman would leave the room, he told Rick Allen to sit tight at the 9:25 and 45:20 marks, or hang on 1 second. In other words, Jerry Holman told Rick Allen that he, Allen, could not leave. When Jerry Holman would leave the room and tell Rick to sit tight, Holman would shut the door. Jerry Holman lied to Rick Allen during the interrogation several times, including the following. Jerry Holman told Rick Allen that we have experts that say that's you on the bridge, and that's your voice on the video, which, investigators are allowed to do. Holman told Rick Allen that experts are saying that's you on the video. Experts are saying you said down the hill. Holman tells Rick that witnesses saw a gun in his pocket. I'm not lying to you about anything. Everything I'm telling you is a fact. The experts say you said go down the hill. Holman said, I'm not lying to you, Rick. That's unethical. Yeah, it's unethical, but it's legal. Jerry Holman told Rick Allen in what was supposed to be an exploratory interview, the prosecutor and the other investigators, they want to see you, lock you up, and throw away the key. If you don't tell me, you're going down for this. Do you realize the death penalty is on the table for this? Rick Allen said, I'm done early into the interrogation at the 12:05 mark, but Holman continued his interrogation. The state police never turned over the vehicle to Kathy Allen after Rick Allen was arrested. Returning the vehicle to Rick and Kathy was merely I can't say that word. To get Rick to the police post to be interrogated. See, which reversed the Indiana appellate court holding the ER's constitutional rights had been violated, therefore suppressing his statements. Okay. So now they're trying to tell us what this all means. This is part of the interrogation. You're going to drag your fucking wife and your daughter through this because you're too fucking bullheaded to get out in front of this and admit you made a mistake. And whatever the fuck happened out there, we'll never know because you're too big of a something. The evidence clearly indicates you are involved in this. Rick Allen says no. Jerry Holman, it does. I don't think you're a bad person, says Jerry Holman. Rick says, what kind of a good person kills two people? Right, that's what they're accusing him of, is killing two people. He's saying, well, why are you saying I'm not a bad person? You just accused me of killing two people. You're going to pay for what you've done to my wife. You want to fuck with me, but you leave my wife out of this. Leave me out of this. Jerry Holman, no, you're involved in this. Your round is there, Rick. He says, no, it's not. You're guilty of something. You're guilty, and I know it, and I'm going to prove it. Thank you, Lorraine. Little one says, no male DNA found at the scene. No surprise, but was hoping. He was with these girls for an hour and a half. All right. There's a few things I want to go over before we get out of here. This is being reported by the New York Post. The stepfather of Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen was reportedly caught snoring during testimony, tying his stepson to the scene of the brutal killing of two girls. On Friday, jurors endured more than 7 hours of dense technical testimony by Melissa Oberg, a former forensic firearm examiner for the Indiana State Police, who explained how she determined that an unused bullet found near the bodies of Abby and Libby were connected to a handgun found at Alan's home. Alan's stepfather was heard snoring and seen shutting his eyes during the dry discussion despite being nudged awake. How embarrassing. You're on trial for murder and your stepfather's back there snoring. Fucking weird. Yeah, it looks like Jerry Holman's lost some weight. He doesn't seem as big as he was back then. Yeah, isn't that embarrassing? But I think it's good that Oberg is able to sit there, during the cross-examination and clearly discuss all of this information for over 8 hours. I think that's important. It's going to be the most important piece of this trial is that bullet. Melissa, I used to snore in church as a kid. So I guess those are the takeaways, right? The hair belongs to Kelsey German 100%. Does that say anything? She was interrogated. She took 3 lie detector tests. The jacket was in her vehicle. There's a million different reasons for Kelsey's hair to be in Abby's hand. How old is stepfather? He could be about 90. Yeah, he's pretty old. Oh shit, Kitty Cat says, Goal said, I don't conduct court in your bedroom. I would appreciate you not sleeping in my courtroom. Fuck, that's embarrassing. That's horrible. Like, why even go there? Like, what are you doing there? I agree, CJK. That's what we're trying to do anyway. What's up, Humanimal? Says he appears, but it's a brief flicker, which is why the footage released to public isn't good. It wasn't like Libby stood there aiming the phone at him. Let's talk a little bit about that. So in what context is this? Abby, is he right here? So it's almost as if she doesn't want to turn around, right? Libby's filming her and the bridge guy. Is he right here? Don't leave me up here. So they must be trying to get away from him already. Like, oh shit, here comes this creepy guy. Why is he on the bridge? Grown men aren't going to bother 2 young girls. They'll go out of their way not to be creepy. Like, I don't want to seem like a creepy guy. I'm just going to leave these girls alone. Hopefully, if I want to get on the bridge, hopefully they'll get off and then I'll get on when they leave. You're not going to get on the bridge while you're alone. That's just something men I don't think would do normally, right? And the girls are going to be afraid to pass him because what if he pushes them off the bridge? So they're going to want to get off the bridge. If he keeps coming towards me, we got to get off the bridge or we're at risk. So is he right here? Don't leave me up here. So that tells me that This is probably Abby's first time on the bridge. She's struggling. Libby is already off the bridge, maybe even off to the side, maybe even already trying to get down the hill, down that path. And Abby's like, don't leave me up here. And then apparently Libby says, this is the path. That be a gun. There's no path here. Then the killer says, guys. And I think it's Abby that says, hi. Like maybe nervous, like, hi. Like, please don't do anything to us. You know, hi, how you doing? How's it going? You're obviously not here to hurt us, as we were suspecting you might be. And that's when he says, guys, down the hill. Hey, Grunge Truck, what's going on? Charlotte, I don't think they're trying to accuse Kelsey. They are underlying all of the missteps or negligence of conveniently missing pieces of the investigation. Joey says they showed the whole video and he was not seen. That's not what Frank told me. Frank told me that he was seen and clearly heard on the video. And he says it sounds just like Richard Allen. So maybe we can play that. This is something I put together. Richard Allen versus the Bridge Guy audio.
Rick.
Cable snap. There's the word start coming up.
Guys.
Down there.
Rick. Guys. Rick. Guys. Rick. Guys. Rick. Guys.
Down there.
Cable snap. There's the word start coming up.
So the part where it says Rick, I pulled that directly from his voicemail.
Rick.
Cable snap. There's the word start coming up.
Guys.
Down there.
Rick. Guys. Rick. Guys. Rick. Guys. Rick. Guys.
Down there.
Cable snap. There's the word start coming up.
So the thing is, if that's Richard Allen right there, he never said he crossed the entirety of the bridge. He's obviously on the south end. You can tell by the placement there and the items in the backdrop. And the positioning of where the video is being taken is off of the bridge. So he's walking all the way across the bridge towards the girls. Why is he doing that? So I feel like maybe the girls never even meant to cross the bridge, but they were being forced to. I feel like the main fear would be somebody pushing you off the bridge. Charlotte says KG's hair is exactly where it would be expected. That's why no test originally. It would be the probability of balance. It was her, the girls, or Anna's hair. KG primarily is her jumper. It's the word probability that I don't like. Like if you have a hair, just go test it. But just because the investigators made all of these mistakes, that doesn't mean that Richard Allen is not the killer. that be a gun? Could that be a gun? Good to see you, Champagne. Why pin it on him? There are other players it would have been easier to pin it on. I don't know. It's the whole lost tip narrative. I'm more concerned about how the jury's going to take all of these inconsistencies. Maybe they won't harp on them at all. Yeah, bullet was found right away, and they have a chain of custody on it. Ty West. What do you mean? His qualifications are that he was there. Me neither, Charlotte. Charlotte says the girls are said to be laughing in the video. I haven't heard anyone in the courtroom saying they've heard this dialogue. Very interested. So if you were there and you heard it directly, let me know. Help me frame it up. What's up, YouTube bad actors? Welcome in. Exactly, CJK. I mean, we got to at least use a little bit of common sense. Good to see you, Don Spain. I agree with that, Charlotte. All I know is that we've seen everything surrounding this case for over 7 years. I feel like we have a clouded perception. I'm hoping that the jury isn't suffering from that and that they can see the evidence for what it is. Because naturally, I'm a conspiracy person. I'm driven by positive thinking and positive energy. And I don't want to put out there that people are incompetent. But the truth is that's probably what it is. And once again, hindsight is 2020. So no matter what mistakes were made by the prosecution, whatever the defense points out, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that Richard Allen could be the killer, right? So I just hope that the jury gets it right. I feel like Libby said he's got a gun. Like she's kind of looking at both of them, and the bridge guy's behind Abby. So I don't know if she would see the gun. I feel like Libby would say he's got a gun. And they're thinking, like, how do we get out of here? Well, if we get out of here, the only way to go is down this hill. And before they know it, the guy's right there. He's got his gun out, and he's got full command of the situation. Good to see you, D. Ashley. Welcome in. All right, guys, I think that's it. I think we covered everything I wanted to talk about. So we recapped day 8 in the morning of this morning, day 9. We touched on the Holman interview. We talked about can cops lie? We determined yes. Is it good? No. And if not recorded, did it happen? He says, hey, I swear on the threat of being charged with perjury, I'm under oath that when Richard Allen was in a vehicle with me and we were searching his home, he asked him a question. He said, it does not matter because it's all over. Okay. Do we have a recording of that? No. So did it happen? Holman is saying that he reminded Richard Allen of his Miranda rights during their second interview. Was that recorded? No. So did it happen? Well, Holman is swearing under oath that it did happen. Part of Sarah Carbaugh's interview is just gone. I mean, it's non-existent. But there she is under oath explaining exactly. She's basically giving you a new interview. So does it matter? How will the lost tip affect the jury? I'm caught up on it. Are they? I can't help but think of a conspiracy. Out of nowhere, you have this tip that just pops up out of nowhere. It's almost like, a group of people, or maybe even one person who was helping Richard Allen decided, you know what, I'm not helping him anymore. Or two people were aware of it. One was helping and one decided to release Pandora and expose this hidden tip. Or it was just lost. But the story to me doesn't add up. You have this woman who's non-law enforcement, finds this lost tip narrative, the most important tip out of 72,000. And now here we are. It's very strange. I don't know how the jury's going to react to that. I don't know if I'm too close to all of this information, but man, that's really hard to get over. I struggle with that. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Dak Che, how can we trust that the entire video or evidence on the cell phone has ever been shown? Sorry, don't trust these law enforcement agents. This case is so screwed up. How about getting the FBI in? Well, from what I understand, it was the FBI that mishandled important video footage from the Marathon gas station. According to ISP, it was the FBI that misfiled this. So I don't know if there's any corruption going on. It all seems to point at the FBI. Are they helping to conceal information about this case? So, I mean, I definitely don't trust the FBI either. They thought he was a drunk bum at first. Yeah, there was a whole lot of talk about hitchhikers. And now we know why they were talking about hitchhikers, because you got this man walking down 300. Two things they say: ask for a lawyer, do not speak to police, do not testify. Yeah, honestly, I'm a street kid. We never talk to cops. Even if it was to squeal on your worst enemy. It's just something that didn't happen. We didn't even say hello. Once you're in handcuffs or at a police station, you just, you don't say anything. How's your day going? You don't say anything. Would you like a donut? Don't say anything. When they tell you anything and everything will be used against you in a court of law, believe it. Hey, Purdue, what's up? Cheeks, how you doing? In the next few months, we will all have access to all this evidence. I would really like to see the full video. That is true. We will. Grunge says, maybe at first the girls thought it was some kind of a joke. Well, I guarantee they didn't think it was going to be what it ended up being, right? Like they see this creepy guy. They know, this could be a very bad situation, but they don't really expect it to be, right? This guy, they probably hoped that he would just kind of get to the end of the bridge and be like, oh, cool. What's back here? How are you girls doing? And then walk back. But that's not what happened. Unless there's a big part of this that we don't know. If you guys are anything like me, you can't get this whole Anthony Shots thing out of the back of your mind. We struggle to figure out what's the motivation. Why are they targeted? Why does this killer appear to be? Why does the crime seem so premeditated? With all of those three major questions, it leads you right back to Anthony Shots. Somebody that's sending money to Libby, somebody who's stalking and grooming her. Somebody who said, I was supposed to meet that girl there that day, but she didn't show up. So if there's any kind of a connection between Richard Allen and Keegan Kline, I mean, that would answer almost every unanswered question. And now that we find out Richard Allen did come from Peru, jeez, that makes it just so much more harder for me to just let that stuff slide. And when Keegan Kline, and why is Keegan Kline a defense witness? Because he's the one that's been going around saying that his father and Richard Allen are buddies and that that's who he was with that day. A lot of you don't know this. But Keegan Kline has said that Richard Allen is friends with his father. He's come out and do I believe him? No. But wouldn't that explain everything? He says that they pulled into the cemetery and they went down to the crime scene. Well, at least his father did. That would explain why Richard Allen crossed the creek to bring the victims to the other killer. There seems to be two separate types of wounds on the girls, maybe even two separate weapons. I just pray that they get to the bottom of this eventually. Welcome in Necessary Evil. Andy M. Pro says Richard Allen is the killer. Stephanie, welcome in. If I were innocent, I would testify whether my attorney liked it or not. Me too. But I've also would have been screaming that I was innocent. If you asked me a question, my answer would be, I'm innocent. You got to get me out of here. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm being set up. Not, hey, I'm throwing myself at the mercy of the court, or, well, it's all over for me. I definitely wouldn't be saying shit like that. And I wouldn't give a shit about my, what did he call it? Giving him a bad name or whatever. I'd be thinking, damn, I got a lawsuit here. What's up, Chainsaw? Sleuth, any thoughts on the Crime Circus video claiming that BG video is fake? A lot of people say that. But I mean, law enforcement says right from the beginning that it's edited. The video that we have, it's not fake, but it's highly edited. But to say it's fake, that's just ridiculous. Yeah, that's true, Chris. Human nature obviously happened because he recapped it in the second interview. And plus, he's under oath. He said under oath, I told him, like, you still understand your Miranda rights, don't you? Richard Allen said yes. All right, Patty. That's what I'm hoping, because we're definitely, our opinions are clouded for sure. Yep, me too, Shane. I don't care if they told me not to testify. I would sit up there and be like, look, I don't care what anybody says. I did not do this. I was there that day. I don't know what's happening. I don't know how they got my bullet. That, it's just impossible. And I'd be looking the jury right in the eye. Like, I need you to help me, guys. I did not do this. This is a nightmare. I don't know how this is even possible. I never thought anything like this could ever happen to me. Like, I need somebody to help me. To me, that's what an innocent person would be saying in the court. Not confessing, not writing letters to the judge that don't include me telling them that I'm innocent. Later, Sparky. That's what they said, Cheeks. They said they had him sign a letter. The defense in their motion to suppress said they couldn't find it. But maybe they have it now. What's up, Chris? They found the tip at the conclusion of the river search. Actually, it was before the conclusion. It was during the 4th week of the search. Hopefully they do, Chris. Chris says, do you find it odd that no one really questioned why he was marked cleared? I'm going to find it really strange if the defense doesn't, get to the bottom of this. Grunge Truck says, not sure about any potential conspiracies, but I do think he could be involved in other murders. Yeah, if he's the guy who killed 2 girls in the middle of the day and didn't leave any DNA, like there was no DNA left, to me that tells me he knew exactly what to do. You might be right. What's up, Purple? Says, did the FBI hide the tip in a box in a cupboard then? Nothing would surprise me in this case at the moment. Yeah, I'm shocked. Chainsaw says, Kelsey is not involved. She was like the first person to be actually cleared. People still accuse her. And with the hair belonging to her, I'm sure they're just running around screaming her name and dragging her through the mud. All right, let's go to a couple more and then we're going to get out of here, guys. Purdue. I do not understand how Richard Allen could unalive 2 girls and leave no DNA, no defensive wounds on the girls, nothing heard. How could this be his first unaliving in 45 years of age? Very suspicious. Yep, he wore gloves. He knew if he was going to do anything disgusting, he was going to keep it contained. He knew the less physical interaction and touching of the girls, the better. And if he's covered in head to toe and, wearing gloves, long sleeves, and items that he plans to throw away, not to mention hanging out for an hour and a half with two victims, what is he doing? To me, he's obviously cleaning up footprints, drag marks, maybe a trail of blood here and there. Places that he knew that he touched the victims, he could have wiped off, and cleaned up a little bit. He was doing something, but whatever he did is what is making him so cocky and arrogant. He's willing to interview with law enforcement. He's willing to engage with them without asking for an attorney. I mean, it all fits the profile to me of somebody thinking, hey, I'm smarter than these guys. It's that same mentality that caused him to commit the murder in the first place. So it's only fitting that it ends up getting him caught. What's up, Hiawatha? Elemental Divinity. I like that name. He may have lost his mental fortitude by the time he said those things. It's possible. What's going on, Scott Metalhead Sleuth? You've never been falsely arrested, have you? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. I have been falsely arrested. I was almost killed by law enforcement. See, that's the thing. Like, people don't know what other people have been through. I've been through plenty. I had a officer literally tried to kill me for nothing. It's just funny. Everybody out there thinks that their burden is the heaviest. I mean, it's becoming more and more of a fact every day, Chris, but 100% I'm not sure. Could Richard Allen have been forced to lure the girls down the hill? He slips, delivers the girls to whomever, then returns to his car muddy. I'm not sure. I'm really curious to what Keegan Kline is going to say during his testimony. All right, guys, I'm sorry if I missed your comment. Welcome in, nicely done, but we are going to get out of here. If you want to reach me directly for whatever reason, you can send me an email at sleuthintuition@gmail.com. I have a feeling tomorrow we're going to have a lot more to go over. We pretty much knew about most of these details from day 8 through 9. Yes, Chris, remember, all opinions are welcome here. As long as you have the ability to agree to disagree and you don't have to feel the need to troll, you'll always have a place here. Laura M., it has to be Kelsey's. Nobody else in the house that would share Libby's mitochondrial DNA. Hope they didn't spend $10K for that. Good point. Keyword being mitochondrial. I believe they had sisters there that did not have the same mother, same father. So good point. Scott says, mate, I just think a lot of what he said is something any innocent person would say. I wasn't trying to offend you. Yeah, and I just disagree. Seems weird to me. Thank you, V. Marie. You got it, Purdue. Always good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. All right, guys, we're going to meet here tomorrow. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot more to go over. So if you guys can poke any holes in anything that was discussed here or anything that you found misleading, like I said, you can always shoot me an email at sleuthintuition@gmail.com. And we'll reconvene at the same time tomorrow. And hopefully we can make some sense of it all. But until then, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.